I'm going to go ahead and start the show off with some poetry. Harry. Give it up for Harry.
How's everybody?
Doing good.
And thanks for having me. It's a beautiful place, and we'll be back.
Yeah.
Before we were Indians, before they made us Christians, before the Bering Straits, along the Mediterranean we were trying to escape. We were trying to escape. We were slaves of Babylon, indentured servants of Ireland, children of Africa, lost descendants of the Appalachians, refugees of occupancies, human experiments with man-made disease, women burning on wooden stakes for the weakness of men, bullied teens who grew up to be quiet men, obedient sheep before the television, being fed irrational fears at 6 and 10, for the plight of Palestinians, for the prophets, the original authors whose life's work has been tampered with, plagiarized, edited, politicized, blasphemized by the churches, rewritten to hide our greatness, to disguise our sin, to cast a shadow over our light, to create control, to cause divide, to all indoctrinated bigots, faithful hypocrites, loyalists disguised as patriots, self-made victims of self-entitlement, sheep, lambs, wolves, lunatics, to all forever willing silent accomplices of extinction events held beyond this border, to all people of earth violently ripped from the wombs of the once promised land, to all unwelcome voyagers telling true stories differently to make themselves out to be the hero, to every victim offered salvation only to be crucified, to every free thinker, burning witch, individual that has ever been silent, child that has ever had to hide, you no longer have to be afraid. To all ministers of defense that ever gave the order to slaughter the defenseless, there will be consequences, vengeance, not to be seen as terrorism. We are asking for all colonial outposts to be abandoned, for every U.S. territory to be given back, for every troop to return home. Occupiers, come home. These present-day roles do not suit us. Peacekeepers cannot be warmongers. Beautiful creatures should not be monsters. Dancers cannot be bankers. Carpenters cannot be painters. Movers cannot be waiters. And poets cannot be anything other than thinkers. The disappearance and difference of culture. The disappearance of difference, loss of culture, of direction, of will, our names lost in the wind, our spirits are dying, our world, our habitat, our climate change into dirty man doing dirty things. He is a plastic that swims in the ocean, the hatred that flows in veins pulsating, the gasoline in the water Hawaiians been drinking, the tar on the feathers of a flightless bird, the creator of new fault lines that run through the Caribbean. He is the reason condos are collapsing and schools of dolphin are beginning to beach themselves. And so I'm asking, where are your heroes now? There is no good guy riding off into the sunset. Very few governments are not involved in human chess. Today's damsel in distress, a wealthy, bitter, aging Me Too actress, guilty of when selling plenty of her past co-stars into human traffic, grassroots movements infiltrated by Central Intelligence, now being trained to fight against justice, decoy abolitionists, now target what's left of this dying creature once known as freedom. There were no survivors of Eden. Replicants rewrote the books but can't tell you what they say. A mistranslated legacy, a semi-fictitious history of imaginary wars played with plastic army men. One nation infected with indoctrination. One nation screaming freedom, breeding enslavement. One nation that covered our eyes and ears after whispering fears into them, adopting propaganda into their belief system, hatred into their hearts, strangers into their homes, hearing voices over phones. A new plague, a great sadness, eyes become rivers, creating waterfalls, will alone instructed to try, inspired to fight, fueled by the rise in price of food, gasoline, and other supplies. Belief in TV more than what you actually see. These fools, these sheep, trying to tell them is like trying to speak to a wall built to border existence, limits vision, clip wings, cage freedom, and resonate the brewing hate of a deep-rooted legacy of U.S. us versus them.
they found in mirrors, found in unmarked shallow graves, found far too late, exploited in film, caricature anointed through music, character discredited by fiction, always the suspect, subject, topic, a safe space conversation. Today's intellectuals birthed in old, new, and unimproved ignorance from the comforts of the couches and coffee houses. The intrication of gentrification, the theft of self-identification, the hipsters revived revival of colonization when would American Idols replacing iconic legends. We are the fives that sweep through old plantations, voices of independence muted by major news stations, the origin of creation once again rewritten. We are being raised not to rise. Our senses have been told we are replicants of pioneers. We plagiarize great speeches. Our very existence mimics another's practices. Great pretenders, those self-centered, demanding attention for another man's suffrage. An entire army fighting one man's battle. Heart broke, men broke, no father figure. Just talk show hosts, rappers, actors, athletes, led on a leash, told what to speak, and so it repeats as we read from our phones and speak quotes off TV. One nation that believes more in a disease than love. Our illiteracy of actual reality, our manipulative powers of being, our demonization of the world's beauty, our mistranslation of peace, our sanctions leading to poverty, our point finger blaming everyone else but we, in the name of country, in the name of convenience, in the name of greed, in the name of intolerance, in the name of celebrity, in the name of large corporate entities, a highly influential elite, invisible enemies, concerned citizens, betrayed soldiers, those permanently wounded, those eternally suffering, infants yet to be named, unclaimed cadavers, false teachings, fake news, propaganda, misunderstandings, in the name of silenced voices, in the name of shoot first, fabricate police report later, in the name of constant, consistent fears, but not in my name. Those who keep us safe and dangerous. In all truth, there are no truths. Those who followed ancient books have now found themselves lost in an unwritten, unending sequel. We claim to be this world power. Unfortunately, we tend to create allies out of actual oppressors, therefore becoming powerless in areas that truly matter, with unspoken hope to consume their power. The power of independence, dreaming, constructing, building, creating, conversation, faith, healing, understanding, the power of love, humility. It's time to admit that we are not as brilliant as we would like to believe, that the powers that be have never truly been what they claim to be. Understand, any entity with paid sponsors may not always be completely honest. Your precious pop icons are only puppets to their handlers. CDC realizes there is more money in research and treatment than the actual cure for any disease. CDC cries more about your health yet ignores numerous poisons on supermarket shelves. Fast food still the fastest way to inhabit their toxins. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. I hereby declare all leaders unfit to believe it is time for us strays to find our own way. You, me, we, the people. We who were once people. When we target people, we are no longer people. Let's try to be people. Let's try to be people. Let's try to be. We the people of the great divide aboard the sun before it could rise. Cold steel tables have replaced stone altars. We are still performing their sacrifices to them and women. That is not a movement. Thank you. Appreciate it. What the hell? I'm feeling great. Let me see. Hold on. No one's in the other book. Never mind. There is a truth swallowed by the wind. It is dangled on the noose and destroyed many good men. It can never be found in books on the news or classrooms and schools. So easy to fear the devil they sell us, to believe the lies they tell us. We are disposable products of self-doubt, constant worry and anxiety with weighted down breath and watered down dreams. We are forbid to see past the illusion, to speak and define to this institution, to resuscitate hope and understand what it is to be understanding, to see what they are planting, who they are programming, a youth shackled, chained and loose, a code of silence, freedom of speech removed, burning books, the forced fires of safe spaces, true journalism, silence, and I saw God looking into a mirror, asking for forgiveness for making man of many faces, man of many mistakes, man I can't think straight, riding wavelengths between brainwaves and 5G, remote-controlled human being of radiation, sugar and caffeine, a mutated species, unrecognizable to its previous generation, watching us, watching ourselves, watching it happen, while watching others trapped in a metaverse of fiction, replacing atoms, rewriting Adam, our Father whose art is heaven, picture, poetry, song, never to question love, knows no logic, no boundaries, no borders, states of mind, states of awareness, states of confusion, states of war, watch as a mass masquerade as people. The press works for the government, the press presses against us, the sheep trample over themselves trying to escape the dog's bark, blindfolds, face masks back to blindfolds, tight ropes without safety nets, jumps and chokes, believe they can fly, victims are real, their cause is not. We are lost. Our belief system has been redesigned by our judicial system, the law of man, the loss of God. Let's think of the children. Let's not think like children, always to question, far too easy answers. Learn to read before you repeat another man's words. Pop music was a lullaby. The citizens are still sleeping. A baby is crying and not yet comforted, unheard by mama's music. Apparently the parent is transparent, incapable of looking through the looking glass set before them to help them forget the reality they were never really ready for. In God we trust, in church we are consumed, in man's mistranslation, a chorus of confusion, a tone-deaf anthem, hope and change, ropes and chains, the vote ain't changed, both votes the same, a desert deserted, a people executed, cultivated, cultureless cults, the mirage of a disappearing village, an uninvited mining industry, bauxite, cobalt, coltan, and seep deep craters where paradise used to be, forgotten roots never knew by many, the arrival of new gods from overseas, this land's inhabitants worshiping demons disembarking from warships, baby killer, wife beater, executioner, glorified as noble protector, he too, a victim of misinformation, no townsman, no longer citizen, now experiment, the greatest country on earth to be one of the many held responsible for the overcontinuation of human suffrage, therefore, human suffrage, there are bullet holes and gas tanks, shards of metal buried deep in pure hearts, death at the moment of birth, indifference from a nation claiming to care, a nation of sick perversions and cold stares, serpents and madmen, sheep and sadmen, a nation pretending to be unaware yet fully knowing, an antisocial society socially engineered by social media, not quite ready to give up their toys, rise from their comforts and leave their homes. Those invisible become actual people. Silent are their voices. Pride should be found in spirits, not fabric. Defensive citizens, premeditated thoughts, books unfinished, half-built walls, vacant mansions, kingdom collapsing, dried up rivers, fruitless trees, a malnourished elite, a burning bush, one who stood too close to the smoke and began to hear voices, cathedrals and pine needles, great ideas of a great betrayal, a leader who sends out children to kill children, their tracks and sculptures, unsteady structures, fallen towers, world leaders playing Jenga, praying to the gods of war. We are products of products, no longer a reduction, an over-processed generic generation of imitation, remnants of a mental war, a rough draft, a dream dreamt by those who have overslept, a lost cause, a heart beats like drums, we beats like drums. What have we become when we have begun to cut out our own tongue? A world's people being instructed who to stand behind, who to stand against, who to care for, who to kill, what to do, who to believe in. I am one who carries no faith in these kinds of men, who sees more by looking rather than listening. Independent voices are being silenced as the voices of corporations grow louder. Independent voices are being silenced as we are being told what to speak and what not to speak against. I never realized it was the government that handed out the blueprints for our revolution. Our people, our fellow citizens are being encouraged to resurrect McCarthyism. Unsponsored, free thinkers blacklisted. Hollywood stages imaginary scenarios to redirect the citizens' interest back to importance. A true resistance meets genocide. Leaders of the West instigate, manipulate, play both sides. In these times, far more than just one bad guy. In these times, who really is the bad guy? In these times, far too many we follow be servant-like. In these times, our crimes be justified. In these times, far too many young MC just nursery rhyme, simplistic, satanic landscape, even atmosphere and Rappaport telling us what pill to take. Those once conscious, back asleep, woke, yet living someone else's dream. In these times, they will use you to fulfill their agenda. They will fool you into helping them kill their competitor. They will convince you to dance to their rhythm, to bow before the symbolism, to accept what they refer to as what is, to convince you that nothing will change, to clip your wings and strengthen your chains, to paint over any escape, to place deadbolts in the doors to your dreams, to whom it may concern. These narratives are not to be trusted. These are not voices of truth. These are not selfless acts. These are not words of peace. These are not wars for peace, just more blood for their beast. Oh, say, can you see? Oh, say, can you see? Oh, say, can you see? Oh, say, can I see? Burning cities, burning countries, burning timbers, burning flags, burning women, burning documents, so there will be no evidence that such an evil had ever exist. The revolution will not be televised. We will be televised trying to hide from the revolution. Thank you.
That was deep.